sometimes rules are not always right. And sometimes you have to test the rules against your own set of moral code and values. In today's gospel, we hear from the Gospel of Mark, where Jesus is being challenged by the religious leaders at the time because who are calling out the disciples for not following the rules and customs of the traditions, especially around hand washing and the handling of food. Following those rules was so important that if you did not follow them, you would be rendered unclean and casted out of the community. The ritual referees at the time of Jesus were calling out the faults of the disciples. And Jesus was focused on the commandment, the divine commandment of God, which was to love. And so he responds to the leaders by saying, "You disregard God's commandment and cling to what is human tradition. You cling to the rules." And Jesus goes further in the gospel to say that nothing that enters a person from the outside can render them unclean. What comes out of a person makes them impure. What's important for Jesus is how you act in love as opposed to following every rule to the letter of the law. What matters is the matter of the heart, how you love and serve one another, and not how you regard God's commandment to love. Jesus challenges the establishment of being focused on the rules, but really to pay attention to God's rules, God's commandment to love, God's commandment to act in love, and what matters is how you love one another. So this week, let us pay attention to what is within our heart. What comes from within us? And how do we live by God's rule to love, to act in love, and to love and serve one another? How we align ourselves not so much to the rules of custom, if they're in contrast to the law of love, but how do we align to God's commandment to love and to love one another from within, deep within our heart? That is our moral code and set of values. Yes, it is good to always do the right thing and do the right thing in love. Amen.